Are we ready upstairs?
We're ready.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the April 2023 meeting of the West Sacramento Planning Commission. Tonight's agenda is available on the counter along with the request to speak cards. A reminder to everyone that requests to speak cards should be completed and turned into the clerk prior to the completion of any staff presentation. For those speakers wishing to speak on items not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of this commission, please write item 1 on your card. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised, so all speakers, in order to be recognized, must be called on by the chair and come forward to the microphone. Speaking in public may cause some individuals to be uncomfortable, so everyone is asked to be professional and respectful at all times. And with that, we'll turn to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Squires, can you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we will start with swearing in of Commissioner Delgado.
I, Matthew Delgado,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Turning to item 2, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the commission.
We have no request to speak on this.
No speakers on that. Any correspondence and staff communications from Mr. Tilley?
Yes, real briefly, I'd like to officially welcome Commissioner Delgado to our team up here. I hope everyone has had a chance to meet him, if not before the meeting, afterwards. And you should also have I think a bullet brief memo from Mr. Hardy regarding item number 6. There's a minor correction that we'll ask for, and he will address that when we get to that item. And just briefly for upcoming schedule, we will have our next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is May 4th. However, we will not meet the second meeting in May because that's the State of the City night, and any commissioners like to attend that. So we will not have our second May meeting. However, we will have our first May meeting. And that concludes staff communications at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tilley. Let's see. Disclosure of any ex parte communications. Do any commissioners have anything to disclose? Seeing none, we'll move to our consent agenda. Consideration and approval of the minutes from April 6, 2023. Commissioner Olivares?
I'll make the motion to approve the April 6, 2023 meeting minutes.
Motion from Commissioner Olivares. A second from Commissioner Squires. Can you do the roll call, please? Ms.
Commissioner Linker,
Present.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Squires, Commissioner Delgado,
Here.
Commissioner Olivares,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jackson,
Here.
Chair Sablon.
Aye. I'm just looking at council right now. Is that? Okay.
Commissioner Linker,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Squires. Commissioner Delgado.
Aye.
Commissioner Olivares.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jackson.
Aye.
Chair Zablon.
Aye. With that, the motion passes. Thank you. Turning to item 6, public hearing on 3895 Marshall Road, vesting tentative subdivision map number 5235. And Mr. Hardy is presenting this.
Waiting for the screen to come up. In the meantime,
The Kings game coming on?
no, we have someone recording it, so we're told not to say anything. Chair, members of the commission, Justin Hardy here to talk about the 3895 Marshall Road tentative map. I wanted to bring up the aerial while I'm talking to assist, as a project has a few unique properties to it. So a bit of history. This is in the Southport Framework Plan from mid-90s, was zoned what it is now, and carried through the general plan update in 2016. Previous history, there was a map formerly in 2006, and you can sort of see underneath the map itself, the lotting and the cul-de-sacs were already done there, and didn't move forward, and the access was off of Rock Creek to the south. The project consists of the 3 parcels, blue and the red. The larger parcel on the 7.74 acres and the 1.34 are where the 9 lots would be divided up between the 2 lots that exist today. All access would be taken off of Marshall Road along with the utilities. Complete streets would be done with a cul-de-sac at the terminus, providing a access point for RD 900 for the levee. Undergrounding of the utilities is required for this kind of map. Part of the map also is taking advantage of the clustering, which is encouraged by the general plan. The clustering allows them to do smaller lots than the 2.5 acres required in the RE standard-wise. The essence of that is leaving the remainder 75% of the property as open space or vacant from development in the future. In this case, majority of that property is going to be on the non-contiguous parcel up on the levee, about 1.2 acres of that. And the lot sizes are 13.5 square feet, 13,500 square feet, excuse me. And the plot plan of the site of the homes, as indicated on the map, you can move forward, show where the footprint of the actual development would occur within the subdivision. Standard streets in there and connectivity. The project has been fully conditioned. The minor change to condition 1, it's 9 lots instead of the 4 referenced in condition 1. So that would be a revised condition to state the 9 lots versus the 4 that's indicated in condition 1 of the staff report. And CWE is the company versus the engineering. They requested it CWE in the condition. Since it's on the map as an attachment to the report, it becomes part of the record. So just to clarify that. So the project itself does meet all the goals and objectives and policies of the general plan and the zoning ordinance as laid out. The findings that we went through were directly pulled from the general plan policy documents, and we provided analysis of how the document project meets and completes those. As the project is submitted and with conditions, staff is putting the recommendation in front of you for approval of that. However, we are prepared to pivot on items should the commission request to do so. We just ask, provide some direction. And with that, I'll turn it back to the commission to answer any questions. The applicant is in the audience as well, if they have any questions for them.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. And does the applicant have a presentation today? Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioner before we open it to the public? Okay. Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing and start with the public comments. I think we'll start with the applicant.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Bardis-Myrie, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant and property owner tonight. I'll keep this brief so we can all get to the game, but just wanted to point out a couple important items from the staff report. Most notably is the site we are proposing for the 9-lot subdivision was previously an approved tentative map in 2006 with a mitigated negative declaration associated with it. The map that we are proposing is basically very, very similar. We're just switching the entrance to be off of Marshall Road. We felt that this was most appropriate and putting our right foot forward for the community and the project for a few reasons. It doesn't bother the existing residents within the surrounding community, and it helps enhance the Marshall Road area. We will be kind of reconstructing the Marshall Road along with our entrance, providing a new sidewalk as well as new landscaping, which I think will globally enhance what is there from what you see now. In a time of extreme housing shortage, we think this project will bring some great housing diversity to the Southport area with some larger lots available for the public. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have, as well as our engineer. So I can do that after public comment if you have any.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Brooke Gale.
Good evening. I had a couple of questions about the development. First of all, on the Marshall Road side, it specifies that there will be a wooden fence there. Yet on the Rock Creek Road side, it does not specify any sort of material that's going to be used. I prefer that to fit in with the community, that it be a wooden fence along that road. Second, there is a maintenance way between lots 5 and 6 that are supposed to be for the maintenance crews only. If we could make that a bike lane or a bike path, I think that would be very beneficial for people getting back and forth between that community and the park down the street, Bridgeway Lakes Park. I think that's about it, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gale.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to the commission. Any questions and deliberation?
Yeah, I had a question, specifically for the representative for the builder. I'm so sorry, I missed your name in the beginning. I'm just curious in knowing, and I'm not, excuse me, gosh. If this was already provided, please forgive me, but can you please expand on, from your perspective, what you mean by diversity housing?
The surrounding housing is about average RD5 in the area, so about 5 units per acre. And this being close to 1 acre lots will provide a different type of housing from what is presently provided to the public.
So diversity from like a building spec standpoint?
Yes,
which I'm
sorry.
not,
Yes,
you know,
not from like
not
an
a
end
SME
user
but-
perspective, but that could also be possible.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have some additional questions, yes. To follow on that, you mentioned the housing shortage.
Yes.
Can you explain how adding 9 units is going to do anything to solve that issue?
Well, I hope it's better than none, right? And we're also going to explore the ability to add accessory dwelling units to the site, to some of the lots where possible, which could also help with providing housing for other individuals.
Additionally, you mentioned that this was originally approved in 2006.
Yes.
Not your specific project, but the map. So that was roughly 17 years ago, correct? Do you have a proposed timeline for this current development? Do we expect it to be hopefully sooner than 17 years?
I would hope so. So our company is also a home builder, and generally we entitle and build on our projects. We did pay for the land, so we would like to see our investment returned in an expedited manner. So we're very motivated to build out the subdivision as quickly as possible. We'd love for interest rates to come down in the process because bank financing is quite expensive.
I have a question.
Commissioner Anderson.
Could you comment on the comment that we've heard from the public this evening? I know it's off the top, but it would be interesting how you respond to the question of a bike lane and also to the issue of the fencing.
Yeah, no problem. So we would propose a 6-foot wood good neighbor fence off of Rock Creek Road, like the gentleman suggested. So that is our current plan for fencing in that area. And in terms of having the access road be a bike way as well, that is something that we can explore. I'm not sure, I can't commit to it tonight because there could be some other external factors at play, but it's certainly something that we will look into.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Delgado.
Hi, just a couple other things. I took a drive down there just to see the area recently. I noticed that there's quite a bit of public access along the levee. People seem to go down there to fish, to recreate. Do you expect anything about this development to inhibit public access to that area?
Certainly not. We'd probably promote it. I mean, it's a great amenity, that deep water channel.
Yeah. Officially, anyone that's going up there is actually trespassing.
Well, then we won't promote it.
But we certainly recognize that it happens. The biggest issue out there tends to be people trying to take ATVs and things of that nature up there. But officially, that's would be trespassing if people are going up there, even though we know it happens.
Well, then that, I will say, the additional eyes on the area from the 9 homes would be a benefit.
I have a question related to that. If that's maintained as open space, would that be open to the public?
That is not at my decision.
Oh, no, sorry. The parcel that's not contiguous, is that going to be?
Yeah, it would not be fenced off or
Okay.
secluded in any way.
Any other questions from the commission?
And looking at the, considering the size of the lots and looking at the proposed footprints, I'm assuming that these would be either custom or semi-custom?
Correct.
builds?
Yeah.
Let me ask one other question. You mentioned, sorry, I don't have the initials down right, the granny house, okay, the things in the back. What is ADU?
ADU.
ADU, thank you very much. Will this be part of a, will the individual homeowner just simply be able to decide that, but that this will be laid out in such a way that they can see that as a potential, as a marketing item, or is this something that they'll have to come up separately and make the decision to do so?
We would either build them ourselves or, depending on the lot, leave enough room in the back for them to decide to build their own at a later date. They'd have to pull their own permit and go through the motions.
But it could be a part of the package if somebody
Correct.
wanted it bought, and when they bought the property, they could include that.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Commissioner Linker looked like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not a question, but as a realtor, I think this is a great idea.
Oh, thank you.
Because I have lots of people that want some sort of property, and we don't have a lot of that with the new home builds and such. So the ADU, to that comment, probably lots 4 through 7 would be the ones that would most likely be able to have those on it, which is great because the housing problem that we have. The fencing on Rock Creek, you had said would be proposing wood. The other fencing as well on like the east and west
Yeah, all fencing is
would be wood.
currently proposed
Okay.
as 6-foot good neighbor wood fence.
Nice.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion or a motion?
Chair, I'm satisfied. I'll make the motion to approve staff's recommendation.
We have a motion from Commissioner Oliveris,
I'll second.
a second from Vice Chair Jackson.
And would the maker of the motion be amenable to include the revised, slightly revised condition number 1 to change the 4 to 9?
Yes, I did note that for my own records, but yes, I'll go on the record in adding that in my motion.
Thank you.
David, do we want to add a condition for the fence? Okay.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Squires? Commissioner Oliveris?
Aye.
Commissioner Linker?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Delgado?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jackson?
Aye.
Chair Sablon?
Aye.
Any interested party may appeal the decision of the Planning Commission this matter to the City Council by filing a written appeal with the city clerk within 10 days of tonight's action, and that appeal must be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. I apologize, they make me read that.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley. So I don't have to read that. All right, good luck with your project. Turning to item 7, public hearing regarding a planned development permit for a beer garden and cafe at 1526 to 1538 Jefferson Boulevard. We have Mr. Laffey.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. This item before you tonight is for a 1,200 square foot cafe and outdoor seating area at the 1526 through 1538 Jefferson Boulevard. As part of that project, there are 2 trees, 2 large native oak trees, so those would be retained. It'd be outdoor seating area underneath those. And then there'd be a drive aisle wrapping around the edge of the property with 17 parking spaces. In the rear of the site, there'd be room for food trucks. So the patrons of the business would go in and get their drinks from the cafe. There are also 2 restrooms as part of that building. And then there are the food trucks in the back. So we did receive 1 public comment from the neighboring property owner to the north addressing parking and restrooms. So this project does meet the minimum requirement for parking. Our zoning code has a requirement for how much square footage per use and then how many spaces are needed. So this project does meet the minimum as identified in the analysis in the agenda report. This property is zoned commercial. The use is permitted by right. The reason why this is coming before you tonight is it is within a planned development overlay 40, and that planned development overlay has been around for quite a while, but it was set up and approved because of it allows for unique development standards. All these properties fronting along Jefferson Boulevard there are very shallow, so it makes it very hard to develop, and that's why a lot of them really they're still vacant. They're hard to develop. So this is actually, staff is supportive of this project. It's a very good fit because it preserves the existing oak trees, and it provides a community area, coffee and area to congregate for the residents of the State Streets neighborhood. This concludes my remarks. Staff recommends Planning Commission approve the recommended action in the report, and I look forward to your questions, and the applicant is also available tonight to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Laffey. Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Anderson.
The correspondence we received also talked about some sewage issues. Would you clarify how that will be carried out with this project?
Sure, yeah. So the applicant, when they develop, they're going to have to tie into the closest point is over on Circle Street to the north. So that is a little bit further than normal. There's not a way to connect. There's nothing right there along Jefferson Boulevard, so that'll be an additional expense to the developer when they go to build this project.
Yeah, so this particular applicant will not be able to essentially piggyback on what the the property formerly known as the Salient had to do all those years ago, which was a big improvement and an expense for them. This particular applicant will need to do something, perhaps something similar on their own. They will not be able to just sort of ride the coattails of that previous improvement.
How much does something like that cost?
Mr. Collier, our principal civil engineer is here, so this is his area of expertise.
Good evening. Roughly?
Yeah, just ballpark.
I don't know exactly how many feet it is. You know, it's maybe $100 a foot.
Oh.
I mean, there's existing sidewalk, pavement. You know, it's gonna be expensive.
Okay.
There's a possibility that there may be a line on the east side of Jefferson that they may be able to tie into. Now, whether or not the elevations in that work, we'll have to explore that. In that case, we would require that they do trenchless across Jefferson. We don't want to cut a new trench across Jefferson and interrupt the traffic. Possibly a couple of options. There's not an easy one. I believe the applicant's aware of it. I commented on it during our review.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Bet.
Any other questions? Commissioner Squires.
I have a question about lighting. I don't know who could answer this. I didn't see anything in any of the material that we were given to review about lighting. Did I miss something?
No. So when a project is approved by the Planning Commission, building permit plans are submitted to the city following that once they're prepared by the applicant. And then we go through a lot more of the detailed development standards, and lighting is one of them. So there's a lighting section in our zoning code addressing how much lighting can trespass, what the maximum height of parking lot lighting can be, and various standards like that. So for this project, there would not be any light trespass onto the neighboring property owners, and that's per the zoning code requirement.
Okay, so that will come up later and be taken care of later.
That would be part of the review, the building permit plan review.
Okay. All right.
And once the project is constructed, but before it's finished, typically when there's outdoor lighting like that, then you'll go out and actually look at it in the field, and sometimes they need some tweaking in the field.
Okay.
Some hooding or shielding. This is a very common thing, and we know we have residential behind this project, so that is something we'll want to pay attention to as they proceed in their design, and also during construction, but before the project is officially signed off.
Okay. I have another question. Regarding noise, I noticed that for the lighting, they, in the city municipal code, there's you're given candle, the amount of candle, what is it called, candlelight?
Yeah, the measurement's a foot candle.
Yeah, foot candle, okay. So I didn't see any measurement like that mentioned for noise, decibel levels and so forth. I'm concerned about the drive-through along the back wall, which borders onto the residence there. Concerned about noise there, and I'm just wondering if there's any plan to have a decibel limit. Will there be, for example, motorcycles going through there and parking, and it's people's backyard, and I'm just concerned about that. How would we deal with that?
Yeah, so the zoning code has performance standards for noise, and that's an average over an hourly period. So it really doesn't encapsulate, very high spikes from a motorcycle per se. But keep in mind, this is right next to Jefferson Boulevard, a major arterial road, so there's already a lot of ambient background noise. So in terms of noise from a parking lot or a drive aisle, we don't typically require noise monitoring for something like that.
All right.
But if there were any complaints, the Code Enforcement Division could go out there with their noise monitoring devices.
Okay.
But that, again, that's more of an average.
Sure.
It doesn't capture, the spikes that might come. So Regarding noise, there is a recommended condition of approval regarding exterior noise from the business, like music, and that it would be mostly, during the daytime hours, and there's 1 extra hour added for Friday and Saturday night, but still well within a typical business hour, of operation, not going past 9 p.m. on a weeknight and 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday.
So there are ways for the residents to make their concerns known and be addressed after the project. For example, if there is noise or if there's lighting that's offensive, there are ways the city has to deal with that.
That's correct.
Okay. I have another question. I noticed that there are 2 different maps that we were shown. One map was in our packet. One map was dated November 4th, I believe. Let's see. November 15th. And another map dated January 4th, 2023. So there's about 6 or 7 weeks different. And they have different amounts of the strip along the western wall, which is the wall along the residential. The first map that was drawn said 5 feet, and then the second one said 3 feet. So it narrowed it down, and so there was a revision. I'm just wondering what is the strip supposed to be? And I'm trying to think of the neighbors and the noise of cars driving by that wall.
Yeah. So there was this project has gone through 4 or 5 different revisions to the site plan. So the one that you're referencing that was earlier, that was part of the arborist report. So really the key there is where is the drip line of the tree. The applicant revised the project after that preparation of that report to move the drive aisle further west to be more outside of the drip line of the tree by, I think it was like 2 or 3 feet. So the requirement in PD 40 is that there is a landscape strip adjacent to the parking, but there's no parking there. That's a drive aisle. No landscaping is required on that section right there, but staff working with the applicant agreed upon the 3 feet just for some shrubbery right there. And there is an 8-foot wall, existing 8-foot wall, concrete wall there for sound.
Yeah, that was a sound wall specifically constructed as a sound wall. This site used to host a fairly large metal building that housed a lot of monitoring equipment for contaminants actually emanating from South River Road. That was out there for many years, and so it had equipment running around the clock. So it was in that metal building, and then they also at the time constructed that sound wall that's back there. A lot of things you're bringing up, Commissioner Swires, remind me of when we were working on getting when the Sail Inn came back to life in its most recent incarnation. We went through a lot of these kinds of discussions there. And fortunately, many of the things that Seamus is bringing up here were things we applied there, and that did seem to work pretty well when the Sail Inn was operational most recently.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. I noticed when I went out and looked at the site that there's a telephone pole along that back wall, the western wall that runs along the residential area. And there's I don't know how to say it, the wall comes along and then juts out into the beer garden area, and then goes around the pole and then goes back in. And that didn't show on the map. And I'm wondering if the map is accurately drawn to show that, and whether that tightens up the drive-through, and whether the project can continue forward based on the map that we have.
Yeah, that's a good comment. The site plan does not show that. So,
Seamus, what is our drive aisle width there? I mean, for a one-way, it only needs to be, I think, only 12 for a one-way driveway.
yeah, and they're showing 16 feet.
It does look like it. Oh, never mind.
It doesn't look like it would affect the drive-through. I just didn't know. It just concerns me that wasn't picked up and accounted for in the map.
Yeah, that's something hopefully we can have the applicant address also once we get to public comment.
That's all.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I have a
Commissioner
question.
Delgado.
I have a question regarding the permeable surface in the most updated plans. What can you explain? What kind of material that's going to be, or what kind of materials that could be?
Yeah, I believe decomposed granite was planned, but whatever surface is underneath the tree would need to be approved by the arborist. So the applicant has an arborist report, but here at the city, we also have an arborist, and we have a tree permit requirement. So any work would require a tree permit, and that'd be looked at to make sure it's compatible with the tree.
Okay. I would have, or I would like to make one recommendation to take under consideration from an accessibility standpoint. Just making sure that that's something that's going to be able to support the weight of, say, a wheelchair or walker. I know decomposed granite is quite hard throughout most of the time, but if it gets wet or anything like that, making sure that it remains accessible, the building remains accessible to everyone.
Vice Chair Jackson, did you have a question?
I did. I noticed that the setback on the buildings from the existing sidewalk is being only about 3 feet. Is that correct? Is what, if I'm reading that correctly? So where's the proposed entrance? Is it on the street side, or is it on?
It's on the back side.
Backside.
Yeah.
So the back of the building would be facing Jefferson.
The main entrance, yeah, would be opposite from Jefferson.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, if I read the material correctly, we're not being asked to approve the entire project, just the building, correct?
The plan development overlay requires site plan approval. So the overall site, how it fits on the property. So yeah, the site plan approval is what being asked for.
Okay. Because I remember reading something in the material that we were given that we were only being asked to approve the building, not necessarily if I misread that.
I think the way to clarify it is you're not approving the use as a restaurant. That is permitted by right. So what we're really looking at is the site plan and the applicable criteria in PD 40, such as setbacks and landscaping, things of that nature. So that's really what's before you tonight. This is a little bit unusual to just do site plan approval, but it is a nuance of this particular plan development. And the reason why it's there is, as Seamus mentioned, these are shallow, small lots along a major arterial in our city that back up to residential. They are tricky to work with, and probably why you don't see very many of them actually having been developed. Even what things we have approved here at the Planning Commission over the last couple of years have not come to fruition for whatever reason. But we have brought a few of these things through the Planning Commission under the PD 40 site plan approval standards in the last couple of years. But it goes to not only a lot shallow, they're fairly small. Someone ideally would put several of them together, but they'd still have a very shallow property with challenges fronting on a major arterial.
Commissioner Squires.
So I have a question. Can the site plan change again going forward? You have mentioned that there have been several plans drawn. And if so, will we get to see it again?
So the site plan that's approved by the commission would be consistent. It could not change unless it came back before the commission.
Okay. Second question is, were the neighbors along that western wall, whose backyards front back up to the western wall, were they informed of this project? Did they get a mailing or?
Yeah, any project that comes before the Planning Commission as a public hearing, the city is required to provide a public notice to all property owners within 500 feet.
Okay.
No further questions from the commission? That's the end. Oh, Vice Chair Preston.
Again, I was just going over the two different, like Commissioner Squire said, we have two different maps. So which map do we actually be looking at then? Because one map, it shows there's parking on the, this would be the south side of the lot, closest to the tire center. But then on the other map, that shows that that's food truck parking.
The map that is provided as attachment 1, the map that is included in the arborist report, which is attachment 4, that is a part of the arborist report. It's not the map that's being approved by the Planning Commission. The map that's being approved by Planning Commission is attachment 1.
This might be for our city, our city council, our city attorney. So Commissioner Squires did point out an inaccuracy in the map. Can we approve if this with that, or?
David looked at that, or looked at the image as well.
Yeah, the key in the arborist report really is the trees and the drip line and, the size and species. And so that's really, to me, the crux of this whole project is how can this work amongst those heritage oak trees that are very large and beautiful and absolutely something that needs to be preserved and hopefully enhanced. So, yeah.
The power
okay, I
pole.
apologize. I missed
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we did look at that also on the street view. It does jog in, but that's primarily where this landscape area is anyway. So there certainly appears to be adequate room for a one-way drive aisle loop in this area.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll open up for public comment. Do we have any comments on this item?
Yes, we have Leah Van Austin.
I'm actually one of the owners, and I'm here to just answer any questions that you guys have. But also, my partner, who's also one of the other owners, he can answer more of any kind of like construction-related or plan-related questions that you guys had. This is Praneet Nan.
I wanted to answer your question about the brick wall and the telephone pole. It seems like the company that put the walls up, we still own that straight line behind going. I don't know why the previous owners, I know because they had to go around the trees, but I talked to the neighbor and he was okay with us potentially bringing the fence back, but I can see an issue with the telephone poles being there and how to do it. But I've already talked to the owner about it. You mentioned about the front entrance. There's a front entrance from the street side. Yeah. And there's a 0 setback in that section, so, and we're 3 feet back. There's also doors in the back. I don't think there's, like James said, there's a 8-foot precast concrete wall in the back. I live there. I know the neighbors. I've talked to them. I don't know if that helps. That's it.
So you live along the western wall in your backyard?
No, I live on Canna, and that's probably like a couple blocks away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, any other public comments?
Yes, we have Brooke Gale.
Good evening, Jen.
Welcome back.
First of all, thank you for wanting to build a beer garden. What I see from there is insufficient parking for the number of people I see there, so people are going to have to park on Jefferson, and that may be creating safety issues, especially for bicyclists. I noticed in the plan that there was also some spots there for electric cars to charge. I'd like to see them all electric because we're moving in a way where everybody's going to be having an electric car, so that would be beneficial for all of the spots to be electric. Another thing to consider for when building this is that the food trucks do make a lot of noise with the engines that they have running, keep the food hot and cooking. One thing to consider is have electric outlets for a 220 so that they can just plug into these and they don't have to run their generators.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to respond to that?
We can have staff respond if they want to when we get back.
Can Seamus clarify that?
Yeah, he makes an excellent point that food trucks and generators make noise. So there is a recommended condition of approval that the food trucks plug in, essentially like you have like an RV park, you plug in, and the applicant is planning to do that and have that up for the food trucks. And then for the parking, the project meets the minimum parking requirement. The zoning code does require 20% of parking spaces to be EV. So this will be meeting that requirement. And that's it.
Thank you.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
All right, thank you. So we'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation.
I had a quick clarifying question. I see that we received a public comment from an Archie Wayne Morse, and they're obviously not here. Is there a procedural way in which we go on the record to clarify the questions that are before us? I do believe that commissions or city staff have addressed this, just under my review of the information in front of us.
Yeah, I believe those are all posted online and available for the public. Yeah, so they are part of the record.
Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Squires.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it's notable that all the residents were given notification and no one came. So I don't think there's, too much of a concern on their part. Not even one came.
Commissioner Linker.
Yes, I have family that lives on that back street on Vermont, and they're excited. I think addressing the Jefferson Boulevard parking, I've lived here all my life, and the sell-in and lots of events that go on there, we park on Jefferson Boulevard, and knock on wood, there's not been a problem. So I don't think that there should be one. Selfish reasons, I hope in the future that wine is served there. Thank you.
I did have a question for either the applicant or staff on just the bike parking. How many bike parking spaces do they need to have? Sorry if I missed that on the bike.
Yeah, so there's a bike parking area in the back corner, the northwest corner. I don't have the exact number on how much are going to be there, but the zoning code has a minimum amount, and that's how many there will be.
For the bike parking. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Any discussion or motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion from Vice Chair Jackson.
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Delgado.
Commissioner Delgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Linker?
Aye.
Commissioner Olivares?
Aye.
Commissioner Squires?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jackson?
Aye.
Chair Sablon?
Aye.
Any interested party may appeal the decision of the Planning Commission this matter to the City Council by filing a written appeal with the city clerk within 15 days of tonight's action, and that appeal must be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley, and good luck to the applicants. Very creative use of the space.
Thank you to the applicant.
All four of you. Thank you. Maybe five. Five. Sorry, my agenda is buried somewhere on here. What is next? Okay, and we'll move to Administration Function Part 2. Any Commissioner communications?
I'll just like to make a comment, in appreciation for someone willing to take on such a challenging project, such as the one we just approved. I mean, it's, looking at the map, I had a hard time trying to figure out how it was going to fit. So, but not my problem, but I do look forward to, I think that's the one thing a lot of folks in town have always said, that we need more food and entertainment. So I want to thank the applicant for taking on this venture, and much success.
With no further communications from the commissioners, we'll adjourn the meeting and go watch the Kings game.